Greeting folks. Unfortunately, I found that most videos regarding the scientific miracles of the Quran are either bloated, where you need to watch for 10 minutes to learn something which could have been said in 2, or exaggerated, where you'd find God saying something like, He is the one who sends the wind to move the clouds, and then find Muslims bragging that the Quran discovers something scientifically impossible. Not even to mention the fraudulent ones, which gave us a bad name for trying to frame everything as a miracle. But that's okay. I mean, how many times did you hear that Jesus popped up in a church or something, right? Anyway, the bottom line is that I wanted to make a few brief yet powerful and easy to understand points. To meet the challenge, you'll need one or two online Arabic-speaking Christian friends to verify what I'm saying, because maybe I'm taking advantage of you via manipulating literal translations, since we won't be using the official ones here. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Quran was revealed to Prophet Muhammad some 1400 years ago in the Arabian desert. He himself was illiterate, and very few people knew how to read in his society to begin with. You'd notice that in some examples the text is used in such a way so as not to shock the minds of that era, yet once we discover the underlying fact, we find it so clearly embedded in the verse. Here are 7 examples. It's known since the 30s that the universe expands at the speed of light. Read the following Quran translation, but towards the end you might need to pause to read because of the time constraint.
وَالسَّمَاءَ بَنَيْنَاهَا بِأَيْدٍ وَإِنَّا لَمُوسِعُونَ.
You're probably wondering what has this got to do with the expansion of the universe. Here's what. The word capable, or musa'un in Arabic, can be translated to 2 meanings. Capable and shall expand. Interpretations until the 20th century went with capable, of course. You don't want God telling people 1,000 years ago that the heaven is expanding, right? So it's not just the scientific information, it's the way it's presented to fit different times. Now let's read it with the new interpretation.
وَالسَّمَاءَ بَنَيْنَاهَا بِأَيْدٍ وَإِنَّا لَمُوسِعُونَ.
Here's another example. We just discussed the expansion of the heaven, and unless you're a 3rd grader living in the jungle, you should be aware of the Big Bang Theory. Now read with me.
أَوَلَمْ يَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا.
I don't know about you guys, but I find this to be at least weird. Let's check out something else. Around the year 614, the Persians drove out the Romans from Levant and captured Jerusalem. Muslims were deeply affected because they considered the Christian Romans closer to them in faith than the Zoroastrian Persians. So the following Quran verses commented on the incident.
غُلِبَتِ الرُّومُ فِي أَدْنَى الْأَرْضِ وَهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ غَلَبِهِمْ سَيَغْلِبُونَ.
Of course, you don't find any significance. The near land is obviously Levant, a close foreign land to Mecca in Arabia. Why is that important? Again, the Arabic word translated as nearer here is adna, which means nearer or lower. That's right. Where these events took place is the lowest spot on the globe, the Dead Sea, about 400 meters below sea level. Let's try again now.
غُلِبَتِ الرُّومُ فِي أَدْنَى الْأَرْضِ وَهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ غَلَبِهِمْ سَيَغْلِبُونَ.
Maybe it's another coincidence? Let's move on. In chapter 18, called Al-Kahf, or the Cave, God tells us a story of a group of believers who escaped religious persecution and slept in a cave, only to wake up 300 years after. If you think that's bizarre, you obviously haven't read the Bible. Anyway, the translation reads,
وَلَبِثُوا فِي كَهْفِهِمْ 300 سِنِينَ وَازْدَادُوا تِسْعًا.
Now, nobody thought something was special about the way that figure is said. Did God mean 309 years or what? If so, why didn't he just say 309? Didn't really make much difference back then. But when the people became advanced in mathematics and astronomy, we found the following. Now let's assume that those people slept for 300 solar years. That would equal 109,575 days. And in lunar years, that is... No, wait, don't be surprised yet. There is a whole difference of 0.21 here. Christian apologists say Muslims are nuts because they can't see such a huge difference. And that's very interesting when you know the reply to one of the Bible contradictions. You see, Shabir Ali, a Muslim Bible scholar, wrote a list of 101 Bible contradictions. The Christians obviously weren't very happy about this and replied with a 101 cleared Bible contradictions, which had about 75 good answers, by the way. Now, one of the contradictions said, did 200 singers or 245 singers accompany the assembly? And as you can see, the reply was that the number 245 was rounded to 200. I personally find this an acceptable reply. But then why can't 309.21 be rounded to 309? Gee, whatever those guys were smoking must have been really, really green. Okay, let's move to our next point.
يا أيها الناس ضرب مثل فاستمعوا له إن الذين تدعون من دون الله لن يخلقوا ذبابا ولو اجتمعوا له وإن يسلبهم الذباب شيئا لا يستنقذوه منه ضعف الطالب والمطلوب.
First time, there doesn't seem to be anything special with the verse. But here's an interesting fact about flies. They can't chew food, only suck liquids. But then how do they eat solid food sometimes? Good question. They vomit on the food first and drink it when it's dissolved by the digestive enzymes. So naturally, if a fly snatched a food particle from you, even if you killed it and tried to take that food particle back, you wouldn't be able to because it was already digested before the fly even ate it. Why did God choose the fly out of all the other small creatures in this verse to set the example? Another coincidence? Even third grader jungle boys know that oxygen is created by plants during daytime so that animals could breathe it. In another verse we find,
والصبح إذا تنفس.
This one's pretty self-explanatory. I end with the latest scientific discovery so far, dated July 2008. When analyzing the rocks which the Americans supposedly brought back from the moon using a new technology which could find less water concentration, they found that the moon's interior held water at some point, but the vast majority of it evaporated over time. How's this relevant? Check this out.
والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم.
Not just is the old palm branch dry, but its interior also held water at some stage. Then the water evaporates when it becomes old. These were just samples, but there's more than just the scientific miracles. For example, the Prophet had virtually nothing when he died, though he could have piled all the money he wanted. He also didn't exploit superstitions when he could have. And until he was about to die, was careful not to miss even a single prayer. So the people saying he was a deceiver really don't know what they're talking about. Anyway, I wanted to give you an idea about the topic, and all I'm asking from you is that even if you still think there is nothing special about the Quran, consider that there is at least a reasonable possibility that it actually came from God.
قل أرأيتم إن كان من عند الله ثم كفرتم به من أضل ممن هو في شقاق بعيد سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم حتى يتبين لهم أنه الحق أولم يكف بربك أنه على كل شيء شهيد
See ya.